Welcome back to Who's Up, where we're going to get into some topics about credit and some health stuff about how to getting better health after COVID, how to the recovery process and stay healthy. So up first, credit. Hey Justin, how important is credit?
Credit is actually probably the most important thing when it comes to finances because again, you could have all the cash in the world and they most likely probably still won't let you buy a house, right? Because cash can only get you but so far. And so I've seen a couple different things like, would you rather have $1 million or 800 credit score? And so I'm gonna ask the fellas, which one would y'all prefer?
I think the
Yeah,
credit
cash
score.
money.
I want to say $1 million, but $1 million isn't what it used to be. Like I feel like people talk about a mill, like they can go retire. Like, nah, a million what it used to be. So I'll probably take I'll take the money.
But see, the thing is, again, I would say, in my opinion, there's a right answer, and I would say it's the 800 credit score because with the 800 credit score, you have access to millions of dollars, right? Like if you wanted to buy a car, you wanted to buy a house, you know what I'm saying? Like it just kind of gives you way more flexibility and way more options, right? And so another thing that is super important about credit that I know in my household, the black household, personally, my mom always made it seem like credit cards were scary. Don't get a credit card, you know, you don't need one. If you need to buy something, you can buy it in cash, right? But now my wife and I never use our debit cards because, for instance, if you make a purchase at Walmart and somebody hacks your card, now all your money's frozen. Your checking account frozen, your savings account frozen, everything's frozen. And so, rather, if they make a fraudulent purchase on my credit card, you just dispute that card, and I'll still let you swipe and kind of move on with your life. And so, credit it's important to be able to access credit cards and stuff like that. And I recently found out with American Express that there are two different types of credit cards, right? So now you have a charge card and you have a credit card, right? And so are y'all familiar with what a charge card is?
I've always used the terms like interchangeable.
They actually are different. So with a charge card, technically, you don't really have a limit all the way, right? Like you could probably, like if you go on the website and say, hey, what's my spending power? You may be able to buy some 20, 30,000. It just kind of depends, right? But they don't report like against your utilization rate. For example, let's say if I'm buying something on my American Express card, it doesn't tell me I have a credit limit. It'll just say I spent $600 this month, right? It doesn't say where if you had $1,000 credit limit and you spent $600, technically you are a 60% utilization rate, right? And so that's that's one of the benefits of having a charge card is you can kind of spend a little bit more without it really super affecting your credit, right? And so another thing that's important about credit is authorized users. So that is one of the ways to bring your credit score up pretty quick because with the authorized user is, let's say, Danny Ocean, your parents have been doing what they're supposed to do with credit cards and they've had a Discover card for 25 years, right? You say, hey, mom, dad, can you add me on as an authorized user? So now you reap the benefits of all of their excellent credit history. So now it increases your average length of credit. It increases your overall credit balance. So let's say they got 50,000 and you had 50,000. So now your credit limit is $100,000, right? And so, and let's say out of the 50,000, you originally had 10 at $10,000 balance. Now your utilization goes from maybe being like what upwards of what maybe 20% on 50,000 to now it's only 10% because you have a much bigger limit, right? And then so now you get all their good standings, and it's in most cases, depending on how your credit profile is set up, you're gonna jump up a bunch of points. I know me, when my wife and I got married, her credit was already pretty good. So I said, hook a brother up, add me on as an authorized user. And so my credit said, what's up, white man? I mean, black man. And so it boosted me up. And so I think it's so very important to have good credit. And so what's a good credit score, right? And so let's say you want to purchase a house. Most times you'll be able to get a loan if you have a credit score between 580 on the very, very low end, but the average is probably around about 650. And so I'd say 650 is probably about the average credit score. And some credit profiles, I think most of the credit profiles, 850 is like a perfect score. And so the range goes from 300 to 850. And so many Americans kind of probably fall in between that 600 and 700 credit score, I would assume. But I say the most important thing when it comes to credit is keeping your utilization rate below 30%, right? But I would say if you can do better, I'd probably try to keep it no more than 10 to 15%, right? And another really, really important thing when it comes to credit is what people don't realize is when do y'all assume y'all are supposed to pay your credit card bill by? I'll start with you, Dr. J. When do you assume you're supposed to pay it by?
I heard do it before the end of the month, like get to the end of the month before the end of the month.
Okay. What about you, Danny Ocean?
Pretty much the same. When you charge it, like once it posts, pay it off.
Okay. TJ might know the answer, but TJ?
Yeah, you gotta pay it before your billing statement.
Correct. Yeah. And so let's say the due date is the 24th, right? So I always pay the minimum by the 24th, right? And then the statement date is like the 27th or the 28th. Then I'll pay a big chunk of it because that's when it actually reports to the credit bureau, right? And so people are like, oh, I paid on by the due date. The due date is just so they don't slap you with a late fee. But the statement date is when it actually reports to the credit bureau. So like, let's say you spent $100 during the month. They say you got to pay your minimum balance of $25. And so you pay your $25 and then you get paid a couple of days later and then you could pay the rest of it off, right? Or you can kind of play the game where you say, all right, I'm going to purchase something on the statement date, the day after the statement date, and then you technically got a month and a half to pay it by the time it's come back due again. Mm-hmm. And so that's the trick is, again, always pay your credit, the minimum on the due date. So you don't get hit with a late inquiry on your credit report. But then the next thing is, if you can, pay most of it off by the statement date. So that's just kind of just a quick synopsis for the day. Dr. J, you got any questions?
So when you was talking about getting on with somebody and they're gonna pull you up, it's a two-way street, right? If they slip, it's gonna pull you back down, correct?
For sure. So that's why you got to make sure that you do it with somebody that is trustworthy.
Yeah.
Thing is, you could make somebody an authorized user, give them a card, right? So they can't pull you back down. So like, let's say your parents put you on as an authorized user, they could request a card for you and then just cut it up. So now you only reap the benefits. You can't bring them down.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I see what you're saying. It's a good move right there.
Yeah, that's what a lot of those credit repair people do is they'll put a credit card in their business name, not business name, but their name, because they've already established great credit, but they'll never send you the card. So that's one way to help get them up, also writing those letters, those negative reports off your statement will help move your credit up. So, credit.
So I could do that for money.
It's an industry, huh?
I could do that. I have a pretty decent. I'm flirting with 800, so I could do that.
Yeah.
Money.
Mm-hmm. Like I say, credit repair people is not a lot of secrets out there. It just a lot of times, a lot of people will go to them because they're too lazy to do it themselves. You know what I'm saying? So that's like it's one of the industries. If you're willing to do the work, a lot of people will try to get there with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
And
again, it's definitely pretty lucrative too. And the thing about it is, like, let's say Dr. J, you trying to apply for an apartment, right? You're like, my credit ain't all that. And you like, yo, I know I can afford the rent and all, but just my credit profile. I'll be like, all right, bro, I could put you on as an authorized user for a couple months, let you go ahead and establish it. Like maybe let's say you trying to apply in March. I put you on now. You go through a couple cycles of me being on there. It helps your credit. And all of a sudden, after you get in, I say, all right, bro, I'm done. I'm taking you off as an authorized user. Your score would most likely go back down because, again, all the things that I mentioned before, but you already in there now. And they're not going to run another one.
Like that.
Like you said, you got to remember your credit score is your adult report card. So better you are, more responsible you are, the more you focus on it and basically study, the most likely the better it will be. So keep your due diligence up, keep that credit up. And so I guess we'll go and hit up this whole virus situation with COVID, man. I know it's been rough out there for the last couple of years. And I don't know if y'all heard about what the Europe just announced. They out there saying it's the flu. Y'all deal with it. No more mandatory vaccinations, no more mask mandate. Just live with it. So, Doc, what is the best way to live with this pandemic thing that we're dealing with?
Yeah, man, I mean, you kind of got to treat it like not necessarily a regular cold, but a regular cold. Like, make sure you get all the water in you can get in, teas, sleep, all that type of stuff, to get recovery going. A lot of people are talking about getting the right amount of vitamins in, vitamin C, vitamin D through sunlight, zinc, all that type of stuff. So we'll just make a blanket statement and say nutrition across the board, right? Make sure that's on point. So that being said, what I kind of wanted to focus on more this time was more the active things that you could do, not just the things that you eat and try to put inside the body. Because we can go on plenty of tangents of sea moss gel and black seed oil and all the different supplements, right? But moving around wise, one thing that you could treat it like is how we treated our patients that we had to have pneumonia or they've been on bed rest for a long time to just get deconditioned. So a lot of people with COVID, they just end up sleeping a whole lot and they lose all their strength. So basically we got to go through a round of almost like therapy, but you can do it at home without having to go through the whole loop of it. So one thing we do with patients to get them to breathe better is called incentive spirometry. They have a little device. You don't have to get all this stuff. You can get them off Amazon, but it's basically a little tube and you breathe in and you try to breathe in at a steady pace. So this little ball floats up and it stays in a little sweet spot, right? So if you don't have that, they also have versions where you blow out into stuff, trying to make noises. So say if anybody's got a musical instrument at home, break that out and try to play it. Even if you don't sound good, just move the air. You can get balloons and try to blow them up. You can get like a rubber glove, like a latex glove, something that you would wipe and clean with. You can try to blow that up. Anything to get air going in and out the lungs a little bit more frequently. Even if you just stop and try to deep breathe for like say a cycle of 10 breaths, slow in through the nose and out through the mouth, all that stuff helps. Something else that you would have to do is walk around and move and get up and get out of bed. A lot of people try to get bed rest and sleep. That's fine, but can't sleep the whole day away. So when you do wake up, get up, try to march in place. If you can't go outside and walk, reach and stretch, but basically gradually start to increase your activity levels on a regular basis. If you're a person that lifted weights and exercise on a regular basis, maybe start out with body weight only and gradually work your way back into it, but you got to resume exercise. Don't try to rest it away. You guys have any questions along those lines about what we're working on?
And just to be clear, we're talking about recovering from COVID.
We're talking about recovery. Prevention, exercise is good for the immune system. So recovery is good for the immune system too. But in this point, we're talking about getting phlegm out of the chest and mucus out. You got to get that lung activity. Just having the deconditioning that happens, in 2 weeks, you can really lose a lot of your strength. So, getting your heart function back up, getting your muscle function back together, all that stuff is what we're talking about now. So even if you can just get on to the side of the chair and stand up and down 10, 15 times in a row. Start where you can start. If it is that bad and you've gotten that weak, seek out the treatments. Some of the hospitals are saying, if it's not really, really, really bad where you feel like you can't breathe, you might need that ventilator type of pathway, kind of stay at home. So if you had to be on that list of people that really couldn't get into the emergency room, make those plans to try to see the doctors. The lines are long, so make the appointment now while you can. And then you can do all the stuff you can on your own to get as far as you can. And then when you see the professional, they can point you the rest of the way. They may point you to the full round of physical therapy. They may point you to the respiratory therapist. Sometimes you have to go that route. They get breathing treatments with different anti-inflammatories and antihistamines and that kind of thing to open the breathways up. If you don't have access to that kind of stuff, they do have over-the-counter things that are similar. Vicks Vapor Rub, that kind of is in that vibe of what I mean of opening the lungs up, all that menthol and peppermint kind of feel. So then you got your whole essential oil crowd, right? All your peppermint oils and eucalyptus and all that kind of stuff. Anything to get in the nose and open it up and get the pathways open again. All that stuff is very, very important. And one other tool that I think will help a lot of people is sinus irrigation. You see like the little neti pots with the saline solution, kind of turn your head, tilt it, and you flush, all that kind of stuff, right? So that works. And then you also have the ones you plug them in the wall. They've got a little power that goes through them, and you still put the same saline solution. The caution is this stuff might not feel that good. COVID, a lot of people, they have the runny nose, they get the irritation, they got bleeding in the nose, all that kind of stuff. So the sinuses are irritated. And this stuff will help you out if you got the flu or sinus infection, strep throat, all that kind of stuff. But all that saline and salt, it affects the pH that's inside the sinuses. And basically, to kind of shorten it down, if you ever throw on salt on a slug or earthworm, you see how it kind of makes it fall apart. That salt kind of does the same thing to all the bacteria and pathogens and anything negative that we don't want inside the body. It kind of gives it a little zap, and then all the healthy tissue can remain and survive. So you take, a lot of the home remedies you see, teas and all that kind of stuff. We really got to get those in and get them going.
All right, I got a question. Do you think people should start these things directly after they get the first negative test, or like as they start to feel better from COVID? Like when should they start to put some of these actions into place?
I got you. So, the nutrition parts of it, we try to get that in as soon as we know things are going wrong. A lot of people haven't had a lot of an appetite with COVID, so you do the best you can. But definitely get the fluids in if you don't get anything else in. Say we can get some orange juice in, right? That'll give us some calories so we can stay afloat, get some vitamin C rather than being on zero, But as far as, getting out to bed and moving around, unless you have like those heavy fevers and the muscle aches where you like physically can't do it, I would say get up. Say a good strategy would be if you will go to the bathroom, don't come straight back to the bed or the chair. Take a little victory lap. Go check the mail. Go to the end of the street and back, the block and back. Kind of tear yourself out that way. Your shower, that's a good time to kind of get some stuff in. All that steam is going good. You got to get in and out the shower. You can kind of move around a little bit beforehand, get a little sweat worked up, push out some impurities. Because when you sweat out a lot of stuff that we don't want inside the body too. So we kind of get this little cycle of flushing it. You sweat it out, you put in all the good stuff to replace all the bad, just got pushed out of the body. But I would say early in the process, and then just gradually increase as you can. Be cautious of overdoing it. If you start feeling faint, let's sit it down. If you notice that symptoms that had gone away start to come back, maybe let's reel it in. Say the fever broke, I'm feeling good, and then feel a little too good, you outside, bust a little too much of a sweat, and then start to drop back down again. So that kind of stuff you kind of got to listen to your body on, but definitely give it a nudge. And you often almost force yourself out of the bed. From what a lot of people told me that they've had, they felt like they've had to sleep, but then they really didn't feel better until they actually got that round of moving in. Even if it was just a stretch in between commercial breaks of TV shows, something like that, in between the binge episodes. Justin, you got any questions for me?
I do. So
My
I know you're
bad,
talking about
Daniel.
like going out and get the mail and stuff like that. If you're
Mhm.
contagious, especially if you have a family or you like in an apartment building, I know people are just like quarantining inside their homes or inside of a specific room, unless they absolutely have to come out to like shower or use the bathroom. Is it okay to like maybe like walk around the room instead of walking around the house and maybe potentially exposing your neighbors or people in your home to it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to walk around somehow, some way. You got to move. Open the windows, let fresh air get in the house. If you're outside, you got a little more wiggle room because you got the fresh air move. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I wouldn't go to the gym and maybe walk on the treadmill. That's doing a little bit much. But if you're outside, walk around the block, chances of getting to somebody else, we got that a little bit smaller at this point. The quarantine times are always changing. They've dropped it down to 5 days. Some people they a little cautious of that, and I don't blame them. But go by the symptoms too. If it's day 17 and you still got a sniffly nose and a fever, it's not come outside. So another thing, I think somebody mentioned about a negative test. One thing that is going on now, people are testing positive for longer time periods. So you got to go by the symptoms a little bit more then too. And that's not shocking. If you take just about any other disease, you go by the symptoms a lot of times. Say somebody has high blood pressure, right? You can exercise with high blood pressure and be safe. It's one thing if you start to exercise now, they get dizzy, chest pains, headaches, signs of stroke, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So some of the stuff that's going to be starting to come out, it may seem like a panic button just because it's new, but the term we're getting to is an endemic, right? It's going to exist. It's going to happen. So let's say we'll take Ebola, right? That's not widespread. Somebody got it. Somebody dying every year. It's on the board. It's Family Feud answers is up there, right? So if you kind of zoom out a little bit, we got heart disease by far and away the leading cause of death, and then cancer is a distant second, and then a distant third from both of them is actually COVID, right? So as far as it's something that's going to be around us and kind of acceptance and that kind of thing, yeah, it's here. But it's like everything else. Did you get it bad enough that you had to go to the hospital, right? So we could put mental health on a similar spectrum. Everybody got something going on. Is it just a regular bad day or somebody just passed away? Or is it something that's debilitating your whole life and you can't function and move around, right? So that's kind of where we headed. How fast we're going to get there and who's going to benefit from it. Now we got the door open for all the arguments that's going on, right? But to say that eventually we're going to get to a point of, I don't say herd immunity, but that's one of the terms, either you survive the vaccination process by the needle or by exposure, or you got a good immune system and you survive straight up. That's basically 3 outcomes, and that's how you get herd immunity, for lack of a better term. Almost like chicken pox, you get it, you survive, or you got the vaccine, you survive that, but somehow, some way, we're strong enough to survive. So we're going to come to that point. We lost some people. It's unfortunate, and we don't want to lose anybody else. So, but all the things that we've done to this point to kind of keep everybody safe, you can always take that on yourself to do it. There's no law to say you can't wash your hands. If you want to wear your mask, you can do that. They just telling you that the job can't make you have to wear the mask. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to put that on and give yourself a little extra comfort, even if it's just mental comfort, you know what I mean? Because that's powerful enough too. Stress is going to play a part on your immune system. So if wearing a mask gives you peace of mind, you can wear your mask, you know what I mean? So I think that, a lot of the stuff that's going on, people just need to kind of take a deep breath and kind of put some of the fear and put some of the politics to the side and just kind of look at what it is. It's okay to be clean. It's okay to wash hands. It's okay not to be cramped on everybody. We can get a little fresh air in between us. You know what I'm saying? So some stuff should be all right. But it's been an interesting thing over these last couple of years though. So we'll see how it goes going forward. But we are going to be kind of, I don't say on our own, but you got to take care of yourself at this point of it. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I think Justin had a question.
What was I going to say? I'm trying to figure out. I was listening to so much of what you were saying. Also, so with COVID, I just want do you agree with the 5-day thing? Like, do you agree that like, all right, it's cool after 5 days, just kind of move? Because I noticed that you said something about kind of more so check on the symptoms. So I just wanted to just kind of get your take on it.
Well, so this the thing, they've adjusted the guidelines. So the people that look at those diseases to know what's the contagious time period, that's not my lane. So as far as being contagious goes, if that's safe or not, I'm not sure. But as far as can you go back to work and function, look at symptoms. You see what I'm saying? If you still feverish and not feeling good, I don't care if you had COVID or the strep throat. Let's stay at home. That's what I was kind of getting to, as far as looking at symptoms. How many days it is, it should be relative. That's my opinion. I like to have a window, a margin of error, like 5 to 10 days, something like that. That way, if somebody is not quite where they need to be, they got a little more cushion. We don't have to rush people back to work. But some of this stuff, man, we facing just straight up staffing issues. Like some of these places with the nurses, just pick on them for example. You ain't got time for nobody else to be out sick. Like we was already short when this thing hit. Now this happens, so or some of the mandate stuff, is hitting people different. Like with the schools, say you got somebody that's got a bunch of kids, but they got enough kids to be relevant, 2 or 3. And childcare really is an issue. Like I got to go to work, I can't watch this kid at home. So some of this stuff they might be trying to find a more reasonable margin of error where stay at home and get the germ worked out. But next man up. We need somebody. So, but I think we'll find a sweet spot eventually. We might need some technology to help us out a little bit along the way. Maybe something, but I don't want to go full Ultron, but we're gonna need something.
Okay.
I got one more question before we get up out here, talking about this after the fact stuff. I know I've been reading a lot of stuff about like people having like brain fog and stuff like that, some of these other long-term effects. Is there anything that can help against that? Like,
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the exercise that we mentioned, the nutrition that clears out some of that stuff. You can challenge your brain too. Not to go full martial arts and that whole world, but a lot of that meditation and concentration that we talked about, that helps strengthen your brain, doing like word puzzles and word searches, that kind of stuff is good. Reading, all that stuff helps get your brain going. There are people that have those lingering symptoms. It just happens. Now, one thing that may help out, I'm not sure what the research is just yet. There's finding that CBD and cannabis is good to help protect the brain. We see that with Parkinson's and seizures and that type of stuff. We're also seeing research that is helping to protect the immune system. Seeing some articles on that now too. So that might be an open avenue for it. But, I think just anything that you could do to challenge your mind will be good in the long run. And then, like I said, exercise, get all that blood going to the brain, get extra oxygen to the brain, get fresh air, all that stuff should help. And then, if it is still lingering, seek out the help, because, a lot of people have talked about how it's certain lawsuits have been protected against and that kind of thing. But I mean, disability. If you got so much brain fog that you can't function, you might need to start looking to get some help in place.
all right, sounds good. So, you want to tap in with us on IG, hit us up at who'sup_podcast. If you want to email us, contact us, it is 1-800-who'sup@gmail.com. And we out.